Welcome to Enoxy Studios. Now let's jump start to the product rendering. So guys, we start by deleting everything on the screen. So you press select everything, that is you press A to select or press X to delete. And then we go to the front view and then we add our reference image. So I downloaded this reference image online. So you can just Google wine bottle reference image, and then so we turn down the opacity so that we can see through our reference image. So we zoom in a bit and then we start. So we have to position it so that it is well centered on our screen. So you press G, then you can move it. So move it, press G and then X, and then you move it there. That's okay. Yeah. So I'm positioning it well. So now we add a circle and then we change the name. You can double click on it to change the name to bottle. So we enter the edit mode. You press tab, you go to the edit mode, we scale it down, press S to scale it down. So E to extrude, you can do this. It's very easy, right? E to extrude, S to scale. But don't press E and then S to scale at the same time. You press E, you extrude, and then S, then you scale it down, right? This is very easy to make. It's easy, right? It's too easy. Very easy to make. So here you make sure it is aligned just like how I am making it. E to extrude. And then at this side, you want it to extrude inwards. So you press E and then S. You press S right after you press E, and then you extrude outwards. And then you press E again, and then you extrude it upwards. And if you want it to go on a straight line, when you press E, then you press Z so that it can move directly upward. It won't wiggle around. All right, so press E, S, you extrude inwards, and then you press E again to extrude upwards. That is EZ. So E, Z, Z, Z. They are all the same depending on how you want to call it. So now we have a basic model of our bottle, our wine bottle. It's looking pretty good. So since this one is selected already, press Ctrl F to grid select. Then we go to the X-ray mode. So now we have to do the bottom of the wine. So you press Alt and then click on the edges to select all edges, the round edges below. And then you press ES and then scale it down. you extrude inwards, and then easy, then you extrude upwards. Right, very easy to make. You don't have to necessarily follow the reference, but make sure it looks quite okay, because basically we are trying to make the image similar to the reference image, so we are definitely going to get it to look just like the reference. So I'm doing this in real time. When you do it, you're going to maybe get some mistakes in there, but don't worry, you will get there, right? So we have the bottom, you press Ctrl F and then choose grid fill, and then we have the basic shape. Now our model looks quite nice. Checking our model to see how it looks. You can see it looks like a wine bottle, right? It looks quite nice. Yeah. So the shape and everything, turn around the bottom, the top, and around. So now we add the subdivision modifier, subdivision surface modifier, to give it a good feel. And then checking out the bottom, it looks quite some way, and yeah, the shade smooth too, you have to do it. So we increase the levels of the subdivision modifier, and then we add some loop cuts to make it look more nice. Right, when you check around, you can see we need to add some loop cuts. It needs to have some loop cuts to make it look nicer. So with the loop cuts, you press Ctrl R to get your loop cuts. You push it upwards to give the sharp edges. We add another loop cut over there. So I think it's okay. You can play around with it the way you see fits, and then to get the shape that you want. So looking at this, I think it is looking quite okay. Right, it's looking okay. So we have to add loop cuts here to make the bottom also look nicer. So Ctrl R, and then you push it down, and then you see now the bottom side is also looking quite good. Everything is intact. Checking either sides, the bottom and the top. Now it's looking like a wine bottle. It's looking quite good. So now we add the solidifying modifier, the solidify modifier. Because we needed that when we are doing the shading, it will make it look nicer. So now we hide our reference image. We hide the reference image. And so it's looking quite neat and nice. Just as I said earlier, you can play around with the thickness and go. Try your hands on things. It will make your model quite nice. You can see it's looking good. It's looking quite okay. So now let's try and then separate the foil from the bottle. You know, there are so many ways in doing this. There are a lot of ways. We have different methods, but this is the one we are using in this tutorial. So you right click and then separate by selection. So now the foil is separated from the bottle itself. Let's scale it a bit so that it looks like it's covering the bottle, right? Yeah, let's scale it so that it looks like it's covering the bottle. And that is okay. It's looking good. Checking all sides to see how everything is looking, right? So See the bottom of the wine bottle, it has these things there. So we are going to model that as well. So you add the circle, you scale it down, and then I think we have to hide the bottle itself so that you can model the bottom. Those designs at the bottom, you do it, and then it makes it look quite good. So you hit tab to go to edit mode, and then E and then S to extrude inwards, and then you hold Alt and then click at the outward, and then it will select all edges, and then ES, and then you extrude again. So it's looking, so we are getting somewhere, right? So we scale it down a bit to fit the bottom of the bottle, and then we scale it just right to make everything look okay. So as you are doing yours, make sure you scale it to fit your bottle, right? It doesn't always have to be perfect, but it has to be okay. So we press Alt and then click to select the inner ring. I would say inner ring, that is the edges in the middle. You press Alt and then you click, it will select all edges, and then you hit G to grab and then push it downwards a bit. And then you select edge, this edge, and then you press Shift G to select similar edges, and then when you select it, you use the threshold to control the sides that you are selecting. Then afterwards you give it a bevel, that is Control B, and then you bevel to get these faces. And then you delete those faces. So X and then delete faces. So it's looking okay. I like saying so a lot. You press Shift G, just as I said earlier, to select similar edges, and then you decrease the threshold to get the selection that you want. You decrease it down, then there you get it. And then we rotate it, so we press R and then C to rotate it on the z-axis, and then we give it this shape. Then that is okay. So now what we are going to do is we add a solidify modify. We solidify it, so you can try your hands on the thickness to get what you want. You don't have to get exactly what I'm doing. Just as I said, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to make sure that it looks okay. So I guess you can see what we are trying to do, right? The bottom. I was just trying to see how it looks when we join it to the bottle, right? So now when we apply the solidify modifier, and then add subdivision modifier to see how it looks. Think we are getting there, right? We can see we are getting something nice. So guys, make sure you subscribe and then like this video. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. So subscribe to the channel for more like this, and it's all free. So since we are going to join the bottom and the bottle itself, we will delete the modifier, that is the subdivision modifier, so that when we join it to the model, it will take the subdivision modifier which is already applied to the bottle. So that is what we will do. So we put it there to see how it looks. It can take the general bottle soon, so we make sure it is attached to the bottle, right? Check every side well. I like to be going around to see, not to get the whole thing perfect, but I like to turn and then check every corner, every side, to see if I should make modifications around. So we can delete the modifier, and then you click and then hold shift and then click on the bottle, and then you press Control J, and then it joins together. So you see this shape that we are getting here is because of the solidify modifier. So we can press Control G, and then we apply it to the bottle, and then we come back and then make sure you select the bottle last, and then we join it again, and then voila, we get this. we get the shape. So our bottom is done and it's looking quite good. It's looking quite okay. Okay, I'm seeing something here. So we can just press Ctrl Z to go back, and then we do it just as I said. I like to take my time, check every side, and then make sure it's okay. Make sure it's looking okay. And then, just as I said, always make sure you check around, and you can add a subdivision modifier again, and then you check how it looks before you join. So I think now it's looking okay. So we can join it again. And from here you can see it's looking good now. It's looking okay now. Sorry guys, I was checking something. So I think we have the basic shape, so now we can get on with our texturing. We put on some of texturing and then shading, right? Okay, so even before the texturing and the shading, we can add the label, right? We can add the label. So we can import image as plain. We add the label. I made the label myself. I used Photoshop in making the label, so I designed it myself. It's not all that's okay, but for the sake of the tutorial we can use this label. So when you go to the materials view, you can see it this way. So this is our label. So we can add some loop cuts. So Control R and then use the mouse scroll to add more, right? The mouse scroll, you scroll and then the loop cuts comes. It starts increasing. You can decrease it, you can increase it with the scroll. If you're using touchpad, you can scroll and then you see. So we will add the loop cuts both horizontally and then vertically, or let me say on the X and Y axis, right? So that it will be able to curve around the bottle. You know, we will use the curve modifier. So you rotate it on the X axis 90 degrees. So you press R and then X, then you press 90 to rotate on the X axis 90 degrees. And then we can add our path, that is the Bezier circle. And then we will use the curve modifier. We will use the curve modifier to make the label go around the bottle. Oops. I think I am making a mistake, but we can play around with it to see if this solves the problem. But I think I know what is causing this already, but we'll have to play around it to see if it will solve it. So when you are doing your model, and then you get to some points, you'll be making some of these mistakes, right? You'll be making them. So this right here, you can see it is not following our curve. So this won't solve it, but you will have to decrease it to fit the bottle size though. So playing around it doesn't solve the problem though. But I think the actual problem is moving the label from the center. That is what is causing this. So that is what is actually causing this problem, moving the label from the center. That is what is causing this problem. So let's just delete it and then add the label again. So import image as plain. So if you're using Blender 4.2 and above, it's already added. But if you're using below, you have to add it in the preferences, right? You have to add it in the preferences. So I'm still playing around. You can also play around to see how everything looks, right? I'm playing around with some of these things so help you to know more. So now we rotate it on the x-axis by 90 degrees. That is, you press R, then you press X, then you press 90 to rotate it on x-axis 90 degrees. We add our curve modifier and then we choose our Bezier circle. Voila, then it's solved. But actually we've solved the problem all right, but we will need to add the loop cuts so that the label can curve. The label will curve nicely for us. So you press Ctrl R to add your loop cuts, then use the scrolling wheel, you scroll upwards to add more loop cuts. So now we have our loop cuts and then it's looking nice, right? It's looking nice now. So it's nicer than at first. So we'll select our circle and then the Bezier circle and then decrease the size to make our label fit our bottle. So we are going to attach the label to the bottle nicely. Voila. I think I am becoming proficient in French. Excuse me. I'm not good with French. My French is just comment ça va, très bien. So we add solidifier modifier, and then you can see the thickness is okay. And then we still decrease our circle so that the label is attached nicely to the bottle. So we can see we have our label attached to the bottle and it's looking quite good. Decrease it small. Okay, so it's looking nicer now. So when we go to the materials view, now we can see the label is kind of turned, so we can rotate it on the x-axis by 90. That is, you press R, you press Z, and then you press 90, then it turns, right? So our label is looking nice. I designed it myself with the mango and everything on it. So I think this is looking quite good. It's looking okay. So we have our mango wine. First in history, I don't know if there is any wine produced from mango. Okay. At this point, I think everything is looking okay. So now let's shade our bottle. Yes, our bottle. So we'll make the color kind of dark red, but you can decide to choose any color that you prefer, right? It's a matter of preference. So any color that is okay for you, you can use that color, and then we decrease the reference to, there are so many ways in doing this, but we are going to use this simple method to, so we turn down the roughness and then we get a nice looking glass shade. You get a nice looking glass shade. So we have our glass bottle, right? So it's looking quite good. It's looking quite good. So now let's shade our foil too. So we'll make it dark red. Like that is okay. So yeah, it's looking quite good. So let's make it a bit metallic. So metallic 0.2 is okay, but you can also decide to play around with the value, right? We have a nice looking glass and then foil. So with the foil too, let's add some detail in there. Let's add some noise in it. So So we go to the shade editor, and in using this you have to also make sure that you've turned on node wrangler. At the preference, you go to edit, you go to preference, and then you turn on node wrangler. So we bring our noise texture, and then the bump node. So, and then with this one too, you can play around with it to see, choose one that is best. So we can check the values, the scale, detail, and then the reference. And then I didn't do it prior to this tutorial, so I'll say I'm doing everything live. So I'm now checking the values which will be appropriate for this. So I am trying various values to see. So you can also play around with it. Just check, 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 check. Then you get the best one, the one that best fits your purpose. So decrease the straight on the bump, and then voila, we get this. So at this point it's looking quite okay, but let's try things. And then you can see it's having that kind of texture of the foil, right? So now we can join the areas, and then we have our glass bottle. It's looking nice. So we can enlarge the label a bit. So let's I think at this point our wine bottle is looking quite good. It's looking quite good. So what is left is the lighting. So let's add an empty object and then parent everything to it. So you add an empty cube, you select everything, and then make sure you select the cube last. And then Control P, parent to objects, and then we rename our empty cube as wine bottle. And then with this, so we can use the cube to control the whole bottle, right? Once we select the cube and then start moving it around, everything follows. So everything is looking okay. So now let's model our container, the box. So that one is quite easy to make, right? I can bet if even if I didn't add it to this tutorial, probably you might be able to do it, because adding a cube, shaping it, and then texturing is the easiest thing to do in Blender, right? This is a basic thing. So we make sure everything is aligned well, and then select the top, G and then Z to grab, and then scale it on the, there are so many ways in doing this. You can decide to use extrude to do it. You can use scale. You can also grab the vertices and then you kind of use it to scale it upward. So it depends on what you want to do. There are so many ways in doing this. There are so many ways in doing everything in Blender, but there are easier ways too. So you choose the one which you feel is best and then use. So we add the bevel modifier too. The bevel modifier to make the edges look nicer. So now let's texture our bottle, right? So so the everything is looking quite okay. So we can add our image texture. Can add our image texture. So at this side, don't forget we are in the edit mode, right? So we'll still use our wine label. And then we unwrap. And with the unwrap, we have so many. We have the UV projection, we have the unwrap. So we go to the UV editor. You select the faces. You can select all faces. You can also select the faces one, and then you place the faces at the places you want to show, right? The sides you want to show on the faces, then you place the faces. And then in selecting the faces to the UV editor side, you can decide to select using vertices, using edges, or the whole face. Sorry for this notification. I'm a football fan, so I follow football all the time. So you can try your hands on. That is why I am actually doing this for you, right? Just to show you that you can try so many things. You can try so many things. You can try so many things. And then with the label, you can decide to download some online. You can make some yourself. I made my own with Photoshop. You can decide to make the label yourself. You can hire someone to do it for you. You can also decide to download some online and then use, as we have a lot of um, wine companies, and most of their labels are online, right? So you can try your hands around, move it, and you see how everything is, how it looks. And then you try your hands on different methods for yourself. You can use the UV projects too, but mostly I like using the UV projects, right? Think is it here, smart UV projects. I like using that a lot. The UV will give you that kind of rectangular cadence, right? In math class. Yeah. And then you can try your hands. Try a couple of things just to see how everything is, right? So I am also trying. Actually, if I had done all this prior to this recording, then I would have tried and then know the one which is the best, and then I will do just that for you. But I'm doing everything live. The only thing I did prior to this was the Photoshop, the label, and then the items I downloaded online. So that is how it looks. So far what I've done. This is how it looks, right? This is how it looks. So you can try this cube projection. And this is cube projection. Cube projection. So let's use our smart UV project and then select the faces and then replace them one after the other, right? Select the faces. You can scale this. You can scale it on the x-axis. Scale it on the x-axis so that everything appears. So this is the top, and then it's looking quite okay. And then you can select two faces too, and we place it on there. When you hover the mouse pointer at the UV editor side, you can press A to select all. In Blender, A means select all. So then you can press A to select all, G to move it around, and then move it to see how good it looks at every side that you move it, right? And then you press S to scale. Scale it to how it best fits, or whichever way you like it. And then press G to move it around. So it's looking quite good now. We can select the other two faces and then position them well. So you can see the two faces, their positions is not how we want them, so we can interchange them, right? You can interchange the faces, so we can select them one by one and then select them one after the other. Can select them one after the other, and then place them to look nice. So you can rotate it a bit. You rotate on the Z axis. So press R and then Z to rotate on Z axis. So it's looking quite okay now. So let's start with the lighting. So the plane, and then you scale it by 10. You press S to scale, and then 10. Scale it by 10. We can also place our wine and then the box in the center. So select the edge and then E to extrude, and then we bevel it. We bevel the intersection, right? We bevel, Control B to bevel, and then use your scroll, the scrolling wheel, and then you shade smooth. It's looking nice. So we can give it the material of the wine foil. So you can click on this so that the changes we make to the plane, it doesn't affect the foil, right? So we name it the plane material, and then we can reduce the roughness small to 0.3. So you can press Shift A, and then okay. Everything is looking quite good. So we can divide the viewports and then press Shift A to add the camera. And then we can lock the camera and then let's position it well. And then you press N. And then go to view and then camera to view. So we lock the camera to view so that we can position our camera well. So right now everything that we are doing is kind of the camera is moving the way we want, so that we can position our objects well. And then we switch to render view. So with the lighting, there's so many ways in doing it. Some may use HDRI. You can also use the 3-point lighting, but this is how I do mine. So you add the area lighting. You take it, grab G and then Z to move it on the Z axis, and then you scale it by 5 and then increase the power or the strength to 400. And then Shift D to duplicate it, and we can rotate it. So we rotate it on the Y axis. So R to rotate, Y to rotate it on the Y axis. And then we rotate it to give a nice lighting. And then we select the one in the middle again, Shift D to duplicate. And then we move it on the X axis. So Shift D, then X. And then afterwards, you can rotate it on the Y axis again. So now we are getting a nice lighting. Actually, the lighting looks better when you use cycles. It looks better when you use cycles, right? And so guys, that is it. We have, and when you are using the EV2, you can turn on subsurface, you can reflection, and then bloom and co, but I don't think they are in there. I don't think ambient occlusion, bloom, and then screen space reflections, they are not in the kind of, they are different in the Blender 4.2. I am using an older version. So guys, that is it. Thank you so much. Make sure you like the video and also subscribe to the channel. I'm out.